All right, folks, no sleeves here for today. I'm going to do a short review of Cthulhu City for Trail of Cthulhu. This is basically a campaign setting for Trail of Cthulhu. The default one for Trail is 1930s. And this one is just a different setting. It's still in the same time period, but it's different. First, I just want to say a little bit of background. I'm not a Cthulhu scholar. I've never played Call of Cthulhu. I've played Trail quite a bit too. It's one of my favorite settings. Games too, the Gumshoe, I like that, but I'm in no way like an expert, just a dabbler really. So when I first saw this cover, I just said I want this. And I got it. I was intrigued by it because it changed how you usually play these games in investigation, and I'll get to that soon. First, what is different about this campaign setting? Well, it is kind of a pocket dimension, Cthulhu City, and looking at the map, gorgeous map by the way. If you're familiar with Lovecraft and his work, you'll recognize a lot of these locations. Basically, they're Innsmouth, Arkham, Miskatonic University, all these places that are part of the story now. They're all part of this city, which is Great Arkham. Okay, and they're all very detailed in there, and I'll get to that a little bit. So I got my notes here. So there's two ways that you can start a campaign with this. You can begin as characters in that city, and if you do that, you get there's certain abilities, investigative abilities for your district. So you start with that, or you can find yourself in this city, basically this little pocket dimension. And I mean, they go through that. They give you a couple examples, couple ideas of how you might find yourself in Cthulhu City, in Great Arkham. So when you're there, what I find interesting is that usually when you play a game like this, Trail or Call of Cthulhu, you investigate some type of mystery. And of course, like with Trail, you've got the drives, and this won't be a review of the Trail of Cthulhu, by the way. If I can't do both, so but yeah, you got the drives, and that's what really motivates your character to take part in this investigation. That as a player, you kind of know that it's doomed from the start, right? You're gonna go crazy, or you're gonna die, or whatever, and it's part of the fun, and that's cool. But in this game, when you play in this setting, basically you want to find your way out somehow, and for many reasons you can't. No matter how hard you try, you're stuck there. Years ago in Great Arkham, there was a typhoid outbreak. So there's the police has been ordered to quarantine everybody in the city, even though the outbreak is over. But they still they still believe that, or they use it as an excuse to keep you inside. So you might get on a car, but somehow your car is going to break down right outside the city, or as you trying to get out, and then police gonna come in with gas mask and everything. I think there's a picture in there, and then they'll just pull you back in. If you're on a train will be late leaving until somehow there's a reason why you have to come back. You have people back in that city, so you have to stay there. Or you might hop on a bus, then on the way out you're gonna fall asleep and you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be at the bus station back in the city. So it's like a nightmare. It reminds me a lot of that movie Dark City. Came out, I think it was late 90s. Very cool movie, by the way. So what you get in there mostly is it's just a bunch of what people call fluff description of the city. There's like, out of 200 pages, what this book is, around 220 pages. Some of them are indices, but out of 200 pages, like 140 is just a description of the city, district by district, and the people in the district, and locations and all that. But for character creation and that kind of stuff, what you get is, well, the new abilities, like I said, the district knowledge, you get new choices for drives, and a new mechanic called suspicion. And this will make sense in just a little bit once I describe. So when you play Trail of Cthulhu, or called Cthulhu, most other games that you might be used to playing for the Mythos, you have a couple assumptions, and that is, well, first, that the Mythos is unknown. So that's why you're an investigator and you go in there and find out what's going on. But in Great Arkham, it isn't unknown. Actually, it's everywhere. Okay? But people willfully blind themselves to that. Like, there's these giant towers in there that are really obvious if you walk by, and that's a sign that there's something wrong there. But people just like to pretend that it isn't there, so they don't go crazy, or people don't get them in trouble. It's basically, imagine it's your typical day and you're walking to work or something. You just park your car, and for maybe 95% of people, if you see a fight, or I don't know, something really scary or whatever, or you're just gonna pretend it's not happening. Like, you see a woman and there's a robber that comes by and just pulls her purse and just runs off. You don't want to get in between because you're scared of what might happen to you, unless you're a hero or something, or you've got some type of training. Okay, maybe you'll intervene, but most people will just look the other way, keep walking, and pretend they didn't see it, especially in a big city like New York City or whatever. So this is one of the changes in there, is that it is everywhere. You can't really avoid it. It's part of everyday life. Then the other one is that cults are clandestine. So usually you, the investigator and the law, you're on the same side, and you go investigate something, and you're probably gonna solve it. But this is totally different in Cthulhu City, because actually the bad guys, all the Mythos creatures and cults, they're in cahoots with the authorities. They've got them in their pocket. You are the outsider in this game. You are the one that they're trying to uncover, and that's where the suspicion stat ability score, whatever, that I mentioned earlier is for. Is the more you expose yourself by doing basically murder hobo stuff. If you see that there's like this temple that's evil and you want to destroy it, and you get explosives and you blow it up while you make your presence known, and that's when you get in trouble. So you have to stay on the down low when you investigate something. Basically, you, like I said, you're trying to find your way out, right? So you're trying to find out what's going on so you can get out of there. And the last point usually is that, okay, you got this mystery and you're going to try to solve it, and once it's solved, you basically save the world, right? It's not whatever evil was going to happen. Now you put an end to it, probably sacrifice yourself, but that's the end of it. Not in Cthulhu City. Whatever you do, the Mythos has already won in this city. Okay, that's what it's all about. So, yeah. So what does that mean when you play? So there's this kind of meta plot, this campaign setting where all those factions, all those cults are trying to perform this ritual to either open. Imagine that this pocket dimension is just open a little bit, just ajar, all right? And that's what's creating this world where some creatures can slip through and influence people, but it's not like a full-blown invasion. So you've got people, some factions that want to perform that ritual and then open the door all the way so that it pretty much destroys the whole city, everybody, and probably the rest of the world too. And then there are other factions that want to close it and just keep all that knowledge to themselves. What would happen if the door was totally shut? I don't quite remember. I think it was something like, well, that place would cease to exist. So if you're in it, you cease to exist too. So you've got these two factions, and the whole point, the whole overarching plot there is for you to discover who's closest to performing that ritual, and that's where it's left up to the GM to decide what this ritual entails. Usually it needs to be in a place of power at a certain time, with certain ingredients and components, whatever. So it's like the end goal of the adventure. Sorry. So yeah, what you'll find in there too are all these factions, and for every faction, all these cults, you've got templates. So what the templates do is allow you to take any NPC and make him into like a associate and initiate, adept, or master of that cult. So you've got about a dozen of them there, and they all have different goals, all different. And then you know, like the esoteric order of Dagon or whatever, Church of the Conciliator, Necromantic Cabal, the Witch Coven. You've got a bunch of them in there. It's like a write-up of around 2 pages each. All right, so you got that. Then you've got, like I said, all the locations. And this is something that I really like with the Gumshoe products, because I've seen it in the Armitage file and also Dracula dossier. So let's say here we've got City Guard, Landmarks, Miskatonic University. For every location like that, landmarks, you've got the masked version and then the unmasked version. So the mask is the one where it's just kind of normal, but the unmasked is where it really reveals whatever mythos or evil stuff that's going on underneath. So you could run this campaign many times, and every time you run it, what the players think this place is could be different the next time. And they do the same thing with the characters. Like you get some called stock characters. So those are like the typical people that you'll encounter in this place. So let's say with university in the library, one of them is a professor. So they give you a name, role, description, leverage. So if you're trying to gain leverage to gain clues from him, and then they give you like 3 versions of that character. So you've got the victim, which is it basically means he's like a story hook. Something bad happened to him and he needs help, so he becomes the adventure hook, right? Then you've got the sinister version, which means he's the bad guy, so you can use him as a villain. And then you got the stalwart, which means he can become an ally for you. So you could encounter that character 3 times, or in like 3 different campaigns, and he might be a different person. And they even give you like alternate descriptions, so the same stock character can look different, and alternate names, distinctive quirks, and of course the stat block that goes with it. I like that a lot, especially with this, because it's kind of a crazy place that doesn't make sense. Imagine you encounter that professor one day. He's a victim. Help me, blah blah blah. You go do stuff for him to help him out. You come back the next day, and let's just say he just changed. Now he's sinister, or he's an ally instead. You can totally turn this around and confuse the characters so bad. That'd be so awesome. So I like that a lot. And like I said, you got 140 pages just of that description of the city, and every page you turn is full of story seeds. Really, you got adventures on there every pages, because of the locations and the characters. They all have something going on with them, and then you mix that up with the cults and all that stuff, and it works really well. And finally, you've got an adventure, scenario. It's called was it A Whisper in the Light? And it's pretty cool. It's unlike anything I've read before with these adventures, and I remember reading a lot of them, trying to find something good for me to run. You've got some haunting going on. You've got the mafia in there. You've got some science stuff. It's really weird, and it's a good start to a whole campaign, I would say. I'm not gonna go into detail too much in case you want to run it yourself or you're about to play it, but overall, what else could I say? The presentation, I mean, it's written by one of my favorite writers, Gareth Ryder Hanrahan, Irish fellow. Really good stuff. I mean, top notch. The writing is excellent. Illustrations, you've got the typical illustrations that you'll find in every trail. Yeah, it's the same. Well, the cover art is from the same guy who's made the other books, Jérôme Huguenin, and he's really good, French dude, of course. So yeah, the writing is great. Layout is just the 3 columns, typical to their line. It's all black and white inside, but I think it fits quite well. You got like for the adventure here, you've got these mind maps, the scene flow, which helps quite a bit. I mean, I can't say that I am jaded with the typical Cthulhu stuff, but if I were, I'd be excited with this because it's something new and you don't really have to add in space or in a different time period. It just takes the tropes and just turn it upside down, and you end up being chased for a whole campaign and not knowing if you can trust this guy or what's going to happen. Really excited for this. I don't know. Oh, here's something else. Technology, Ethian technologies. That must be like some type of race or whatnot. Like I said, I'm not a scholar, but you get a bunch of kind of magic items like a brain siphon, lightning gun, mine exchange device, projector. Good stuff in there. 200 pages, 220, and then oh yeah, another feature at the end there. You've got the indices. Well, appendix. All right. So you've got a lot of, like I said, a lot of locations and NPCs in there throughout, especially throughout those 140 pages worth of district information. So what they did is like you've got individuals and locations by district. So like if you know you're in, Old Arkham, you know that you might meet the artist, counselor, Elizabeth Venner, the getabout, the nurse, servant, blah, 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 and then the locations associated with it with the page number. So it's easier to find. Then you can have it by, instead of by location, then you have them by type. So, commercial, criminal, cults, entertainment, industrial, laborers, landmarks, all that stuff. Check it out. I mean, if you're a fan, you owe it to yourself to get this. It's not very mechanics heavy, so I mean, like I said, I haven't played Call of Cthulhu, but I would imagine that you could certainly use that in other campaigns because most of it is just really depth information about this place. So hope you like it. You found it useful. This was for Kelly Hoy, who requested this video. I don't do that stuff usually, but why not? Thank you, and remember, no sleeves, no gain.